I'd like to thank our sponsors today, Pop McCann Whiskey, smoothest drink in the land. Grab your bottle today at popsmcannwhiskey.com. Also like to thank Friends of Martina White. Visit votemartina.com for more information about the work Martina has been doing as state representative of Pennsylvania. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Beyond Creative. If you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, visit beyondocreative.com or call 267-362-WEB1 to discuss your project. And our title sponsor, AR Law, arjusticenow.com. We fight so you don't have to. Adams Renzi Law. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and carpet. You get military and first responders discount. That is Morrow Flooring. You can go to goodcopbadcoppodcast.com. Click on his link for more details.
Breathe. Put your hands down. Stop scrolling. And the volume up. This is the Good Cop, Bad Cop Podcast.
All right, welcome back. This is another episode of the Good Cop, Bad Cop Podcast. We have a great show today. We have the esteemed Judge Pat Dugan. He is a military vet of 23 years and a municipal court judge in the city of Philadelphia for 17. He recently left his job as a judge, which takes a lot of courage to do, to run against Let Him Go Larry Krasner, who is the poster child for the George Soros radical district attorney that is crumbling our criminal justice system from inside. So today we're going to take a look at Judge Pat Dugan. We're going to ask him some questions, see where he stands on the issues, and just get a picture of what a man with a lot of esteemed courage and a servant to the public, you know, from his time as the Army vet and as a judge. And we're going to find out a lot about him today. So welcome, Judge. How are you?
Nick, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
I'm doing well.
Any man taking on Let Him Go Larry Krasner is a friend of mine, let me tell you.
Invite him, Mr. Keeley. They appear to be trying to sneak into town real quiet. This only came to our attention indirectly early yesterday. We have seen a very consistent pattern when the enemies of democracy want to put on a, quote, hearing, unquote. It's not a hearing at all. It is a dog and pony show with prearranged witnesses where they are deliberately going to make sure there is a one-sided representation. And I don't say that to demean any of the witnesses. There are without question all kinds of good people who may be called tomorrow, but they ain't all good, I'll tell you that. Why don't you do a little research on Nick Geraci, Gerace? Why don't you look for his ethical violations? Why don't you look for the email signed by him where he said George Floyd was responsible for his own death? That is one of their witnesses tomorrow on this topic.
Somebody has to take this clown on.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you obviously have to be somewhat subtle and politically correct because, the position you're running for. Me, on the other hand, I do not have to. I do not like Larry Krasner at all. He's a vile human. I'm on record saying he's a serial killer by proxy. Just one life lost because of your policies is one too many. And there's well over a dozen, maybe 24 people who have been murdered in the city of Philadelphia since his tenure in 2016 that directly relate because of his policies and letting violent felons out of prison early or not charging them correctly are dead because they went on to murder people, murder Philadelphians. And it's a crime. I mean, this man should be prosecuted, not elected into office.
Nick, those numbers that you just said, they're much worse than that. The University of Pennsylvania, the law school, a professor out of the law school named Robinson and a professor out of the University of Pennsylvania by the name of Seaman. They did a research paper in 2024, and their findings were that Larry Krasner, his policies are responsible for up to an extra 75 murders a year. This are two professors now. We're talking about University of Pennsylvania. I think they go a little left there.
Yeah.
But that's what they're saying when they went back and reviewed the policies of what he's done. So I consider Larry Krasner the deadliest DA in the history of the city, if not the country.
Understatement. Oh, my God, 70. So I'm way off.
Yeah, I'll send you that research paper.
Yeah, please do. So I have I have a study, and I have dates and articles lined up, and it's about a dozen people just off of news articles have been murdered through the policies of Krasner and letting these violent criminals go. And we can go through every one of them, but we won't because we'll be here all day. I didn't realize it's over 70. That's amazing. Disgusting.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how someone like that can be in public service and not be looked at by higher courts or higher authorities. It's a shame.
And what doesn't make sense to me is when you look at Philadelphia, right, the kind of city that we are, over 85% of the murder victims are African American. And the vast support for Larry Krasner comes from the African American community, as well as liberals, far left progressives. But the progressives, the liberals, I don't get it, but they're ideologues. But I don't understand African Americans. They're the biggest victims in our city, yet they come back and vote for Larry time and time again. He is a fraud. He's been lying to them. I hope they can wake up and realize that he is not helping their community, our community.
Yeah, so out of that 70, statistically speaking, about 57 of them would be African American out of that 70.
If not
roughly.
higher.
Yeah,
if not higher. It's horrible.
And we're just talking about deaths. We're not now go on to sexual assaults, rapes, thefts, robberies, carjackings are through the roof in Philadelphia, and they have been under his tenure. And we're not discussing it because it's juveniles that are the one that are doing it. In his juvenile courts, people are getting locked up. These juveniles are going in, and they're out within 5 hours. And they're not getting arrested for stealing a donut and a soda, where you get a slap on the wrist. They're being locked up for gun crimes, for carjackings and robberies, and they're out within 5 hours.
And if you don't hold somebody accountable early, then they're going to continue to offend, but usually it gets more violent.
Especially kids.
If we can grab those kids when they do that first offense and put them in some real structure, get some mentors involved in their life, something where they have to show up and do X, Y, and Z and hold them accountable other than just letting them go, because Larry doesn't want any accountability from these young men or women at all. And this is just allowing them to continue and unfortunately to commit more violent crimes.
100%. So we'll jump back and let him go, Larry Krasner. So let's talk about you for a little bit so that the viewers can get to know you. Where were you born? How old are you?
So I just recently turned 65 years old, so I'm old. I don't feel old anymore. I think 65 is, let's say, it's the new 45. But I'm a native Philadelphian. I was born in Fairmount, when it was Fairmount, before it was the Art Museum area.
Right.
I went to St. Francis Xavier for 4 years. My mom, by then, had become a single mother. My dad, good guy, would have been a better uncle than a father. So my mom was raising us, pretty much 5 kids by herself. So she wanted to move on up, and her idea of moving on up was to the 1600 block on Margaret Street in Frankfurt, right down the street from the Whitehall Project. So I moved there when we were about 10 years old. And, it was a new kid in the neighborhood, had to fight the kids from the projects every day because, it was just what you did back then. So after, a year or so, they became my friends. So grew up in Frankfurt, right underneath the L, played wire ball, stick ball, football in the lots, wall ball. I was just a street kid running around, having fun, playing sports, mostly staying out of trouble. I was blessed enough that I had a nun in grade school who paid the $10 entrance fee for the test to go to St. Joe's Prep. And we were, quote, a poor family, which I didn't know we were poor until I got older.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes. I mean, I didn't know the hand-me-downs. I thought that was everybody had that. I thought the Bobos from Kresge's, that was what you had. That's
a testament to your mom.
Oh, my God. My mom was awesome. So this nun paid the $10. I took the entrance exam to the prep, and I scored high enough that I got a scholarship to go to St. Joe's Prep from Geno's. Now, that'll age you if you know what Geno's is, the old fast food joint.
Yeah, the cheesesteak, or not cheesesteak, I'm sorry, the burger and fries spot.
Yes, they were pretty good. So I got a scholarship to go to the prep. And, I was able to, I wound up going in the Army, law school, all that good stuff. But
hold on. So just don't breeze over the Army. The prep, people don't know today, I think is like $35,000 a year. So it's not, you didn't go to a cheap school for a couple bucks scholarship. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
No, it was amazing. St. Joe's Prep in the city, inner city, it's 17th and Girard.
Great school.
So I had it's fantastic. 17th and Girard, took the trolley car to get 15 trolley car, the L. And, I have lifelong friends from there. Guys,
Play any sports?
I played baseball and football. I love playing both of them, and I'm proud to have been a member of the 1977 St. Joe's Prep City Championship football team.
Is that the one that marched down to City Hall?
Yes.
Okay.
So we marched down to City Hall, and I can get a little bit of credit for that because when after we won it that Monday when we went into school, the team was up on the stage. I came in a little late that morning, and so they called me up to come up and say words because I was a senior. So I got up there and I said, great game, all this stuff. And then I said, what we're going to do is we're going to go out those doors, make a left, get to Girard Avenue, get to Broad Street, and go to City Hall. And the whole school ran out the door.
That's amazing.
So I was one of the people that caused that, but it was a great day. And, again, I'm still best friends with many of those guys I played with as well as I went to school.
That's great. I mean, it's a storied football program, and that's some of Philadelphia lore, marching on City Hall. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know you were part of that.
Oh, I was. And so at that time, the Prep, we were just competitive, but we hadn't won a city championship since the 40s. So it was a big deal. And then in the 90s and when this turn of the century, the Prep is just a juggernaut now.
Yeah,
we certainly weren't back then.
You got a few NFL members today playing.
Sure do. Yeah. Richie Gannon was back in the day, but DeAndre Swift got a backup quarterback, McCord, for the Birds.
Right.
He's the third-string quarterback right now. Trotter Jr.
Swift is on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was on mine when he was here. I went out. My grandkids got his jersey. Unfortunately, he didn't stick around too long here. But, I mean, my era, in between us and the Prep and all, Archbishop Ryan was a juggernaut back in the day as well. So
that's where I went. That's my alma mater, Ryan Raiders. There's a controversy right now going on. They changed the mascots. It was a Ryan Raider, which everyone's proud of. It's the Native American chief. A lot of power and symbolism to it. And the girls' school, because it was separate, boys and girls, we merged in the '90s, is the Ragdoll, like Andy Ann.
Sure.
And they just changed it to some god awful, like almost demonic looking guy, a guy and a girl with face shields and a cloak over them. It's terrible, and it's just, again, wokeism. I sent the president a message saying you're 4 years late, that the woke nonsense is over. You should have did this 4 years ago, not today. So, there's a little bit of an uproar in the community right now over Ryan. So you graduate 1977.
78 I graduated.
78,
we
okay.
won in the winter.
Okay.
So
78 you graduate. So what's on your vision board here? Are you looking to run for a judge or office? Is this anything you've ever thought of?
So it came to me later when I went to law school, although I had a couple friends when we were running around, in your late teens, early 20s, you're going to parties and all. I did have a couple friends said, someday you ought to be a judge. So it was in the back of my mind. But I kind of took a real winding road to get where I'm at now. I got out of high school. I went to St. Joe's University right away, St. Joe's College at the time. But my mind wasn't there yet. So I only lasted a semester, bounced around a little bit, went to Westchester, and then I went in the Army. Went in the Army in 1981, stayed.
So you went to Westchester College for a little bit?
Yeah, I went to Westchester for a year.
Okay. Wasn't for you?
I don't know what it was, especially considering a guy who went to the Prep. You would think that I was ready to go to college. For whatever reason, I wasn't. And so I just started, had silly odd jobs while I was going to college. I guess it was more about my background, where I was from. And, I wound up going in the Army. And 6 years active duty. I was a paratrooper.
Oh, that's impressive.
I was with the 82nd Airborne Division, and I was in a really good unit there. It was a recon platoon, an infantryman. I wound up going to South Korea for a year, 13 months on the DMZ.
Wow.
I wound up going to Panama for a little bit more than a year and a half as an airborne infantryman. So
was that during the policing activity we went there?
The Operation Just Cause, I was there for the pre-invasion, so I was not there during the actual invasion. The squad that I was the squad leader for wound up being part of the invasion, but I actually had gotten out of the Army because I was so tired of waiting for that to occur. Because every day we practiced what we were going to do when, the president gave the order, so, all right, let's go take Noriega down. And they wanted me to re-enlist for a longer term, and my time was coming up, and I just said, enough's enough. And so I certainly, and people who've been in the military or police officers in forces like that, when the balloon goes up, you wish you were there.
Right.
So I had a little bit of regret that I wasn't there with my men when the invasion occurred. So I think that's part of the reason why later on in life, after I'd gotten out of the military, I went back to college, got my degree, went to law school, was practicing law. 9/11 happens. Now I'm 41 years old, fat, out of shape, haven't been in the Army, haven't picked up a weapon, none of that. 9/11 happened, and I said, I got to get back in. And it took me a little while to drop some weight. It took me a little bit longer to convince a recruiter to let me back in. And I was able to get that to happen. And in 2003, I was able to go back into the reserves.
So when were you out? 80?
So I got out in 89.
Wow, that's incredible. So
got out in 1989, and then I went back in 2003.
So there's a 14-year gap between when you're in the Army and you go back because of 9/11.
Yes.
Well, that speaks volumes to your character.
I just couldn't sit back and watch it happen and not be part of it. Had to get back in to go join those young men and women who were going to have to go. I wanted to be part of, to assist them. And, I was a grunt for those years.
Right.
Paratrooper. Now, obviously, I was older, out of shape. So I wonder what business I had going back in. But when I look back at what I did, I'm glad I did.
So what was that like? Did you have to do a boot camp again?
It's crazy, but no. So I was at a MEP station at Fort Dix, New Jersey on a Friday. And after I convinced a doctor, there was a doctor, he was in his 80s, and I had all these red flags on my physical for this, that, the other thing. And they pretty much said, well, you can't come back in. I said, well, who has the final say? They said, a doctor. I went back and sat in the doctor's office. He had all these World War II memorabilia up on the shelves and all. I started talking to him about our country and all. And at the end, he goes, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but here, he signed off.
Great.
And let me come back in. So that Friday, on Monday, I reported to a unit. Now, I searched out a unit to join that was going to Iraq. So on Monday, I showed up to the Civil Affairs Unit 416th out of Norristown, Pennsylvania on that Monday. And we were on our way to Camp Shelby, Mississippi to do training, to go to Kuwait and then into Iraq. So I went from being completely out of shape, out of the Army. They handed me an M16 and said, here's your squad, Sergeant Dugan. And off I went.
So you deployed to Iraq?
I went to Iraq. I was there by in early 2004. So civil affairs, because I had a law degree by then. Mm-hmm. I was an NCO, so I wasn't an officer. So I was the non-commissioned officer in charge of this legal team, public administration as well. So, my duty there was to go and talk to the courthouses, take our field grade officers there, run the missions to get them back and forth. So that's what I was doing when I first got there. And I was also riding the machine gun on missions to go to these various locations throughout the city of Mosul. Which
was very dangerous in 2004.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was. For about a month, I got sent up to a place called Duggan up with the Peshmerga because I had been in 11 Bravo. The Army sent me up there to help train Peshmergas, who are our brothers in arms. They're fantastic Kurdish fighters. They were the folks who took on ISIS after pretty much we abandoned the fight over there. But after about a month up there, the State Department, we called it the Coalition Provincial Authority, CPA, Paul Bremer and all those folks, they needed somebody with a little bit of political and legal background to work in civilian clothes. So I was chosen by my unit to go work with this quasi-State Department. And so I'm in civilian clothes now.
What a hell of a swing in
Yes. I'm going
months.
I'm training, I'm riding machine guns. The next thing you know, I'm in civilian clothes and I'm dealing with the governor of Nineveh. I'm handling the mayor of Mosul, the city council of Mosul. So I'm one of the liaisons. I'm in civilian clothes. I'm 43 years old. I got a Tom Selleck mustache with the weapons on your shoulder. And people were like, "Who's this CIA spook?" Well, it's Sergeant Dugan from Philadelphia.
Wow. So a year prior, you're in Philadelphia eating cheesesteaks, hanging out, doing your law job. A year later, you're undercover in a Hawaiian shirt with a shoulder holster on.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And to get to a place of duty and be on these bases, Camp Freedom, I would get into a striker vehicle dressed like that. The striker vehicle would take me to City Hall in Mosul.
So for our listeners don't know, striker is like a modified troop carrier that has, I guess like a grenade launcher on it, right? And
a grenade launcher.
50 cal.
Yeah, and it's got some pretty good fortification.
Yeah.
At the time, it was state of the art, but as time went on, the enemy learned how to blow it up pretty bad. But I would get in a striker vehicle with the 2nd Infantry Division, and they would drop me off at City Hall. And there were some guards down at City Hall, but I would go in there with my, like you said, the Hawaiian shirt and the shoulder holster.
The hell of an Uber.
So it was. But so that's pretty much what I did for the rest of the year. I helped start a women's empowerment group where we tried to empower women
in
Iraq to start their businesses. You know, the thing about the culture that I saw was that a lot of the folks who are on their 2nd, 3rd marriage or 2nd, 3rd wife, sometimes what it really is, it was a divorce, but the culture doesn't allow that. So these women needed some help. So we would give them money, seed money to start a business. And many of them started their own like sewing businesses in their home, which we got pushback from some folks in the culture, but we were trying to empower everybody while we were there.
Wow.
I worked every day with the governor about, what we can do to help push their economy to get better safety. We would provide money to refurbish schools, to dig wells, soccer fields, you name it. These were the type of things we were doing in civil affairs while I was there. And we had some pretty damn good success while we were in Mosul. It was rewarding, but it was also horrific because people were dying.
Right. I mean, that speaks volumes to your character. At 40-something years old, you're established in your career, and you left it to serve your country during a very traumatic time. So what do you think Larry Krasner was doing when he was 40? Right around the same time as you.
He was probably protesting somewhere, laying down on a road. Or no, he was probably suing somebody because the protester got arrested. That's probably
so
what
I'll tell you, in 2000, during the Republican National Convention, he was head of the legal team for what became Antifa. So during the Republican National Convention, I was picked to become a protester months prior to the Republican National Convention in Philadelphia. So, I was hanging out and living with the precursor to Antifa. And Krasner was the head of their legal team. So I can say during the RNC, that during that week, he parked where he shouldn't have parked, and I was able to get his van towed with all his legal paperwork in it. So it was a nice little strike for me in 2000. But that's what Larry was doing. Larry was being a scumbag, with his social justice even back then. So, I mean, credit to him. He sticks with something.
Right. So, listen, there's a place for somebody doing social justice. The one place it doesn't belong is in the DA's office as the head of it, where he is not worried about prosecuting at all.
Right.
He is that social justice warrior destroying our city. I'm not talking about being fair. I'm just talking about not caring about our city.
He loves to prosecute cops for crimes that they're not committing, for doing lawful public service. No problem. So
I was the president judge of municipal court for 5 years. you get to become the president judge because the other 25 judges elect you. So I won the election. I was the head of the Philadelphia Municipal Court. And in that role, those who understand Philadelphia court system, municipal court, it's all bench trials. You can get a automatic right to a new trial de novo, to go to the Court of Common Pleas if you're found guilty. You can ask for a jury trial. So most people take that free shot if they can, if it's a misdemeanor, in municipal court.
So let's back up real quick. So let's go over and tell the people listening if they don't understand. So what is a municipal judge? What is the role of the municipal court?
So municipal court in Philadelphia, we do traffic, we do civil, basically evictions, landlord, tenant, and small claims, anything under $12,000. And then all criminal felonies for the preliminary hearing and all misdemeanor trials. And they're all going to be bench trials. It's just the judge. If we hold a case for trial on the criminal side, it moves to the Court of Common Pleas, where it's a decision whether or not you want a jury or you want a bench trial. That's usually done between attorney, defendant, sometimes talking to the prosecutor. But generally speaking, that's on the defense side to make that determination. But municipal court, it's all bench trial. So if a police officer gets arrested for, let's say, a misdemeanor domestic violence charge, it used to be they would get a shot to go into municipal court just like every other citizen has that free shot. Larry Krasner changed that policy. What he would do is he would jury demand every case that somebody with a badge had. So whether you're a police officer, a sheriff, it doesn't matter. If you carried a badge, a corrections officer, Larry Krasner would request he would demand a jury trial. Now, as the president judge, I would get these requests. When you look at it and say, well, this isn't fair, but the rules say I had to sign. So it was really just a formality. So Krasner jury demanded anybody with a badge. Instead of giving them the way the system was set up, that you get that free shot basically in municipal court. So he just bypassed municipal court for anybody with a badge, which is completely unfair. If somebody had done that for, let's say, everybody with purple hair, then Krasner's peers would be suing everybody. Right. So he just has such a bias towards anybody with a badge, which is completely against all his social justice stuff where we all have to be looked at the same. And he doesn't do that for one class of people, and that's people with a badge, and that's completely unfair.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I've seen, just take the George Floyd riots. I know he had his prosecutors pouring over thousands of hours of footage, not looking for crimes, but looking for police officers that they could charge. So, I mean, it's I don't think people realize the depths of what he's doing. So
with the aftermath of the unrest after George Floyd, I actually presided over 880 looting cases. They came in front of me. I was the PJ. I understood the game he was going to play. He actually requested to withdraw the vast majority of those cases with just my signature. And I said, nope, Mr. Krasner, you're going to come into court and we're going to call each case. And then your attorney's going to tell me why you are withdrawing those cases. He withdrew over 95% of those cases for no reason.
Yep.
You looted a store. We have to have some accountability. Krasner came up with this BS program saying he was going to send them to the churches. They were going to get mentorships, all this stuff. Never gave me, the court, any documentation. His people stood up, gave me some BS reason and said, we're going to withdraw the charges, Your Honor. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh, Your Honor, we couldn't find the victim. Well, who's the victim? Well, it was a store on Lehigh Avenue, and we can't find the owner. Oh, my question is, wait, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the district attorney's office doesn't know how to Google search who owns the property on Lehigh Avenue? So a complete disservice to our city. I called the Inquirer up. I said, you need to come in and watch what we're doing so you understand what is happening.
Right.
And the Inquirer just twisted it around like Larry's the hero. Larry's the hero. It killed our tax base. It gave everybody the feeling that they could do whatever the hell they want. It doesn't make sense. Hold people accountable. I'm not saying everybody needs to be locked up, but damn it, somebody should have been held accountable. Somebody should have been told, look, that's not what we do, instead of just letting them go. And that's what he did.
Yeah, most of them are out-of-towners, right?
Oh, there
the
were
vast majority of them?
There were a ton of people who did not have Philadelphia residents, and it was like, really, Larry? Really? But he did not want to do anything to them. Not at all.
And the Inquirer, the rag of a newspaper, that is, they love Larry Krasner.
It's amazing because over the years it appears that they are his PR firm.
Oh, 100%.
They used to be a very good investigative newspaper. If they actually did some investigation of Krasner's policies, what he's done with the Conviction Integrity Unit, what he's done with some other things within the
homicide
city.
unit.
If somebody would just do a true investigative reporting, it would probably be the end to Larry. I don't know when somebody's actually going to do it, but
it's amazing the past that this man has had with all the damage that he's committed. I mean, he's really hurt Philadelphia. You can go in Philadelphia now, Center City, and look at all the stores that are closed, and it's the correlation to Larry Krasner it's there. Very easy.
Yes, I mean,
roadmap it very easy.
So Philadelphia, we're all about the go Birds, go Wawa, get a hoagie, all that good stuff, and we joke about Wawa. Wawa invested $100 million in Center City for 10 Wawa stores.
How many are left?
One. That's almost just a rumor that there's one left, but 9 of them have left. Now, when you look at the tax base, so we lost that $100 million investment. We're not getting the tax revenue because most of those stores, there's not a lot moved in. And so who's going to pay for the increase in taxes? Everybody lives in the city. The people are paying a wage tax. It's going to have to be raised because we're losing investments. Now, Wawa is just the one that we see because of who they are. Rite Aid, and I understand the economy, Amazon, all that stuff, but when
decimated.
His retail theft policy, and this is Larry Krasner's policy unilaterally about retail theft. When he took office in February of 2018, he made a memo and he said, no longer is retail theft going to be charged as it is on the statute. Everything is now going to be a ticket under $499. It was crazy.
Yep.
And we had 7,000 retail thefts in 2017, and we've gotten over 21,000 retail thefts a year. And it used to be that there was some arrests made.
Yeah.
Like 22% of those 7,000, there were arrests made. So then charges were filed. Recently, when we get over 20,000, arrest rate is 2%. Now, whose fault's that? Well, it's one person's fault because here's what happens, though. And you could probably touch on this a little bit better. So when it used to be you go in and you steal something, you get caught. The LPO, the loss prevention officer, grabs the guy, calls the cop, there's an investigation, and then somebody might get arrested.
Right.
So that's why the number's 22%. 2% is because when cops would come, the LPOs wouldn't stop them anymore, but when a cop would come and make the arrest, Larry Krasner would not charge the defendant. So why would the police send their resources there? So that stopped happening. Hence, Rite Aids, Wawa, Mom and Pops, Macy's.
Yep.
Oh my God, Macy's. And the brick that broke the camel's back there was the murder of the security guard.
Yeah, terrible.
And, that guy should have been arrested, but it was against the policy of what the hell we were doing because of Larry Krasner's policies. And hence, that man, he's dead now. And I think that's one of those 75 that the University of Pennsylvania was saying. There's another murder on you, Larry.
I would like to thank our sponsor, Pennsylvania State Rep Martina White. She has always been fighting and a voice for the voiceless for your first responders and police officers. She's a friend and backer of the Blue. You can check her out at repwhite.com. You can see what she's up to. And if you're in the Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia area, or Bucks County, you definitely want to check her out because she's your state rep. Again, you can check her out at repwhite.com. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring and Carpets. If you're looking for a new floor or carpets, you can call 267-888-4644. Ask for the owner, Tommy Morrow. If you are a cop, fireman, first responder, or military vet, he will hook you up and give you a big, big discount. Tommy's one of our first guests on this show. He's a bona fide hero himself. Not only is he a Philadelphia police officer, but he owns an awesome flooring company. You can also check them out at morrowflooringllc.net. Like I said, if you're looking for flooring and you want a hero to do your carpet or flooring, give Tommy a call. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Pops McCann Whiskey, the smoothest drink in the land. You can go to popsmccannwhiskey.com, grab yourself a high-end bottle of whiskey or bourbon. He has all styles and flavors. Either you're a beginner or a hardcore whiskey enthusiast, check out Pops McCann Whiskey at popsmccannwhiskey.com. Yep. So just to touch on what you're talking about, retail theft, I managed security companies, and I had retail shops in Center City, and teams of thieves would go in, steal under $500 worth of merchandise, and they would taunt the guards, oh, you can't come out here, you can't do anything anyway. All the time. It was a joke. They'd come back an hour later, steal less than $500 again, and they did it through every store out at the gallery, throughout Center City. It's just a big joke, and they know it. They taunt the cops with it. They know nothing's going to happen to them, and it's almost like it's not real life. It's backwards, but it's happening.
It sure is, and I can tell you, I'd be sitting on a bench, and I'd go over to Wawa to go over and get a sandwich, a tasty cake or something. I'd be standing in line. It's a lot of people standing in line at 12th and Market. And I'd be asking the guy to please don't take all the tasty cakes because I'm going to pay $2.50 for mine. As the guy's stuffing them in his damn backpacks, security guard standing there, nothing happening. I'm asking him, please leave me some tasty cakes. I'll pay for them. And it's crazy.
True.
It really was. It was almost like a Benny Hill comedy show. You were waiting for the cameras to come out and say, oh my God, the joke's on you. Well, the joke's on the damn city because Larry allowed this to occur. And, that's why folks don't look at all the stores that we have in Center City now. It's almost like the quality of the stores have gone. It used to be a pretty decent shopping area. Now, what are we getting? Dollar Generals, maybe? All these fly-by-night stores that they're not real anchor stores. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was in Wawa in Northeast, and again, a bunch of kids came in stealing shit, and the guys, get out of here, stop taking all that, and they run outside, and I'm like, you can't even do anything. He goes, it's not worth it. Cops won't show up, and I put my stuff on the counter. He said, I'm not going to charge you after I said, no, and he wouldn't take my money. He said, just take your stuff and go. He goes, I can't even charge you after I just let all them kids run out with shit. It's unbelievable. And they've given up. It's a way of life.
And so in the springtime, during the primary, Wawa don't contribute it to my campaign. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Wawa knows you got to have somebody who's going to hold people accountable. Now, I just want to make sure everybody understands. I'm not this guy who wants to jail everybody because I know how to do diversion programs. I did tremendous work in diversion programs with mental health court, veterans court. We had a program for Dawn's court, which is for prostitution. These programs work. You give wraparound services to somebody who's out there committing these crimes. You find out what the hell, why are you doing this? What do you need? Like for veterans, we could send them to the VA. We can help them connect with their benefits, et cetera. Our recidivism rate was less than 10%. So less than 10%. That's 9 out of 10 were successful. So they're not recommitting. That's a victory. Larry Krasner, the most progressive DA in the country, is a fraud because he blocked us from doing these diversions even better. He didn't want anybody charged and didn't want them coming into the programs. So our programs, so Veterans Court is still out there, but we don't have 100 defendants anymore. We don't have 100 veterans. We have a couple dozen a year now, where all those other ones who are out there committing these crimes, we're not helping them. Not trying to give people records, not trying to put them in jail, but our society screwed up enough with how we help people, and the court system was helping them. Now they're not being arrested. And all you have to do is look at how many body bags are being filled up on Kensington Avenue.
That's my point. All you have to do is look at Kensington Avenue. It's saturated with drug addicts, pimps, drug dealers. And you go down and you ask why. Why is this going on? And you just touched on it. The machine is no longer working. And it sounds a little cold to say it that way, but when you look into it, you just described it perfectly. People aren't being taken off the street. They're not finding help. And they're not returning, you know what I mean, which takes them off the street permanently. So what's going on now? No one's being arrested. No one's getting help. Nothing's happening. So you have all these people piling up on Kensington Avenue. And that's where they're at. Most of them, like you said, would be arrested, put in programs. I didn't know it was that high. 9 out of 10 aren't returning.
That's correct.
Right? And that's why.
It was working.
Yeah, and now look at it. It's piled up. And then the new mayor came in. I'm going to clean up Kensington because there's a national scandal. All they did was push all the homeless and junkies into the communities. So now they're further in, away from Kensington Avenue. They're still out there. They didn't go anywhere.
Right. So the mayor and Commissioner Bethel, they've tried to do some things. They need a third partner, and it's Krasner.
Exactly.
So Bethel, Parker, they could say, all right, we need to arrest. We need to help these people. And yes, help people, because I've seen people in the throes of addiction or in the throes of mental health episodes, after they get treatment, they're back on their meds. There's that person again. They're a completely different person than the first time we saw them.
Yes, they're off the street.
Yes, and they're getting help. So they need a partner. The mayor and Commissioner Bethel, the police department, need a third partner. No matter what Bethel or Parker do, if Krasner will not charge, you just can't move forward.
Correct. It's a machine, and when one of the cogs does not move, the entire machine shuts down. It's well said. Perfect.
And he just doesn't think that somebody else could have a plan that will work. If it's not his idea or some George Soros-backed Wren collective group, he doesn't believe in it.
I believe it's done by design, and it's meant to collapse the system, to usher in socialism. So, and if you look at it, what other reason would there be? It doesn't make sense. Nothing's happening. No one's getting help. The system's crumbling all around us.
So
it's on purpose.
I just saw this article that's going around now about Krasner and his group of far left prosecutors. They meet secretly to discuss programs. Now, this is the same DA who withdrew Philadelphia from the District Attorneys Association in Pennsylvania. So we have 67 counties. There used to be 67 counties, 67 members of the District Attorneys Association. On day one, Larry withdrew from the District Attorneys Association because he doesn't understand. He doesn't want to dialogue with anybody who might have a little bit of different views. So, and now this thing from the Wren, WREN, it almost looks like there's a damn deep state by what I saw in these articles about how they get together secret. They're not telling anybody else. They're not telling anybody else that they're meeting about the policies that they want to do. And one of the things that really struck me when I was reading the paper was that they've actually espoused that the women that are walking on Frankfurt Ave, on Kensington Avenue, hollering $10 to sell their body, that it's actually consensual sex with somebody when they have mental health problems. They're high on drugs. They're nodding. To call that consensual sex and they should be left alone. My God, they're withering and dying.
The majority of them are being raped also.
Yes.
They're not being paid. We used to call it theft of services as a cop because the John didn't pay. It's rape. I don't care how you look at it. And then they're consensual for one thing, and then they're doing another thing. And they're holding them hostage. And it's not an isolated incident. It's happened every day to all of them.
So for whatever reason, this group with the Wren and Larry Krasner.
Yeah, Krasner.
They think this is like a Pretty Woman or Julie Roberts. That's not what it is. These people are dying out there, and we're doing nothing.
Yep.
We could bring them into Dawn's court, and we actually had for 1 year when we were tracking the numbers, we had 18 women who were in the program who gave birth to drug-free babies because of the programs that we got them in, turned their lives around. Instead of them winding up being 85 pounds, addicted to drugs, getting beat up, and then Philadelphia police
or a crackhead or
picking them up.
Yep.
Yes. And, my wife and I actually fostered a child who was born addicted to drugs. We went to Temple Hospital 2 days after the baby was born. And we brought that baby to our home for about 6 months because this baby was in need of some parenting. And it was one of the best things we've ever done. It was very difficult, but it's crazy that a program that was actually getting these women drug-free while they gave birth is now pretty much decimated because of his policies that he just wants nobody to be arrested.
Yeah, he's a monster. So let me tell you what happens to crack babies when they're born. They can, after they withdraw and they get their medicine and they grow up, their childhood years are somewhat normal. They're fine. They turn into a teenager. Mid-teens to young adult, their brains revert back for whatever reason, and now they're severely inundated with mental issues, schizophrenia, bipolar. They're not healthy. They don't live normal lives. It ruins and destroys their lives. You might not see it during early childhood and development, but the majority of them, when they hit the teenage years or late teenage years, they're in mental institutions because their brain is corrupted and diseased from the crack that the mother is supplying them, or the heroin, when they're inside the mother. It's sad. It's not being talked about, and people don't realize it. They just think, oh, they're born, it's terrible, but then they go through withdrawal and they're fine and grow up normal. No, they're going to live a very hard life. Even when they're fostered, they get adopted by other families. Now these families are dealing with what happened. So those 18 families is a blessing, when that end up happening. And Krasner takes it away because it's just, he's a monster. Everything that he's involved in is evil.
And you even look at, whatever you want to call the crime, but the solicitation of a prostitute, the Johns, right? These are the guys who are going home to their wives, but on the way home, they're going to go spend $10 for these folks that are out there that, they need help. So we used to have a program. They would be arrested, and we would make them come in. We would make these men come in on Saturday morning. They pay $250, and they would have 3 hours of lecturing at them, including a video that showed these women as somebody's daughter, somebody's sister. They have their issues. They didn't come back. They paid their $250, but they were charged. Yeah. Now, nobody gets charged. So they keep going back, victimizing these women again. Now, I understand. I think prostitution should be legal if it was run like the Bunny Ranch or like Amsterdam. But what's happening in our city is not how it's working. So we should be protecting those ladies out there on the street by keeping those predators away from them. And Krasner doesn't think so. I mean, where are those people on the left? Why aren't we worrying about those victims, those ladies on the street? Or the other victim is the family of the men doing this. Or what about the neighborhood? You want Tarsdale Avenue, what's going on in there? Lancaster Avenue? There's places in the city that is happening every day. And what are we doing about it? Nada.
Condoms, you use condoms everywhere. It's a health issue. Kids are playing. Needles. Right. It's the broken windows theory, which is absolutely true. You let these quality of life crimes fester, more happens. Like you said, the neighborhoods start to crumble. Bigger crimes start to happen. The rapes, the homicides, the burglaries, the robberies. It all starts with quality of life crimes.
No doubt about it. And, it goes, people stop calling the cops. They stop calling the cops about somebody broke into my car. My car's stolen. I mean, everywhere I'm going around the city, I hear about.
I don't call anymore.
Right. I don't call. I was a victim. My neighbor was a victim. My kid was a victim. And what happens is they stop calling for a number of reasons, but one of the biggest one is as a victim, when the prosecutor is not contacting you to say, hey, there's going to be a court date, they don't get called. And that's from low-level crimes all the way up to murders. One of the appalling things that I saw was when Officer Wilson was killed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
His partner, there were charges against the murderer for aggravated assault against his partner. When they did the sentencing for this clown, he was never called. He wasn't in the courtroom when they did the damn sentence.
Either was Wilson's family wasn't notified of what they're going to do.
Like, that is against every ethical. It's even against the statute, because we have a victim's bill of rights that every victim, and when a family member is murdered, that family has the right to be at every proceeding, to know what's going on. Now, they could tell the prosecutor what they would like done. Prosecutor can still go ahead and make his own decision, but you need to inform the family, and they shouldn't be reading about it in the paper and time again. And to do it to somebody like Officer Wilson's family and his partner,
it's disgusting. Yeah,
disgusting. And again, that's where I want to be the city kid and really use the words that I want to describe what he's done. And this is across the board. How many people has this happened to? Yet the city continues to elect this guy who doesn't give two craps about victims, no empathy for the family. It just doesn't make sense.
The victims are a nuisance. The criminals are the victims, and the cops are the criminals. That's Larry's philosophy.
I would say that's probably his 3 commandments. Yep. I would say it seems like that's what he's done. But again, everywhere I go, we were having these forums in the springtime, and a murder victim's family, mothers in particular, would give me the same story about how I never heard from the DA's office. Yep. I didn't hear about the hearing, the trial. And then you go to the out there at 54th and Delancey, there was a store owner who was shot by a guy with an AK-47.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the video.
That weapon of war.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, AK-47, it's out there at war, and it's a 7.62 round. They call it a full metal jacket. So he's robbing this guy. He shoots him, puts him in a wheelchair. And Uncle Larry, he offers the guy 3.5 years, and the guy jumps at it. 3.5 years for putting somebody in a wheelchair with an AK-47. The guy jumps at it. The real problem, besides the lenient offer, and, any defense attorney would be disbarred if you didn't jump at that, especially there was a video. But so the victim, Mike Pyong, was never notified. Mike reads about it in the newspaper that Larry did a deal. Yes. Now, hey, the feds were so outraged by it that they took the case and tried him at the federal level. The guy got 14.5 years, but Larry thinks 3.5 years is a fair, and I'm sure he wasn't happy about that. I'm sure he wanted to do much less than that, but it's crazy that we allow this to happen in the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, so speaking about Sergeant Wilson, I had a political action committee where we ran a commercial against Krasner, and Wilson's family was one of the people in the commercial, which I'm going to show you right here.
When my son was murdered, I had individuals come to me and tell me the district attorney, Krasner, may not let this murder charge stick.
If he didn't let this individual out of jail, my husband would still be here.
Why isn't he siding with the mothers and the sisters and the fathers who've been affected by gun violence?
There is surely no justice when the family then is victimized by somebody like Larry Krasner.
He cares more about the criminals than he does the victims.
So that's the commercial we ran in the 2020 election. It's pretty powerful. These are victims' family members that are talking and telling their truth. And Sergeant Wilson's family was ignored. And you saw Lyndon Schellinger in there. Her son, Sean, was murdered in Center City. And what Krasner did with that case is appalling. He coached the murderer through his interviews, telling him what to say, how to say it. There's actually homicide investigators apparently sent the FBI audio of this interview, and why he hasn't been investigated or arrested for this is, I don't understand. That man was murdered for no damn reason, and that guy got zero jail time. In fact, he was let go. He was mocking Linda and her family, of the murder that he committed. And as you were just talking about, he would run into Linda, and she would call him constantly, what's going on with the case? Where are we at? And he would ignore her. Finally, she ran into him one other time, and he basically said, you're a nuisance, leave me alone, to a victim's mother who was murdered.
And I did watch that documentary. I think it's called 72 Seconds. And what came out in that documentary with Larry Krasner sitting there with a defendant in his boardroom, it's just outrageous that
district attorney
sitting down with an accused murderer and basically giving him legal advice. I just don't understand that he could get away with that, but the city allows him to get away with it. And you had Jimmy O'Connor's wife in that commercial as well. And Jimmy O'Connor and my wife went to the police academy together. In that photo from that class, they stand side by side. And I live in a neighborhood where the playground is now called O'Connor Playground. And what Terry's saying in that video is so true, because the guy who shot through that door, his rap sheet.
For everyone listening, Jimmy O'Connor was a SWAT officer serving a highly dangerous warrant for homicide for a suspect in this room. And little did he know, there's 4 people in there. All 4 of them were let go from Larry Krasner. And this is what transpired.
Yeah, and the guy who did who actually shot Officer O'Connor was actually was out on probation, and he had violated it 3 or 4 times. Yet Krasner's position in the court was, we don't want anything else to do. In fact, he dropped some charges that if he had pressed and realized that this guy was a violent criminal, because the underlying offense that he had was a gun case. Yet he continued to reoffend, and then Krasner his office going in front of these judges did not push it at all. Hence, he's still out there. He's running around with 3 other like-minded individuals with long rap sheets that were not held accountable. For not holding somebody accountable, this is the end result. And Terry is spot on with that he should have been in jail at the time.
Correct. Again, we started this interview off saying how many people, and you told me it's up to 70, would be alive if Larry Krasner was never the district attorney. It's a staggering amount of people, lives that have been affected because of one man and his malfeasance, to be honest.
And the ones that are on there, they were high-profile cases. It was in the news all the time. But the vast majority of the victims, it's barely a blurb in the newspaper. But to that family that's lost a loved one, that's now been ignored, that nobody's advocating for them, it's just horrible what an elected official is doing to our city and doing to these families. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And hopefully this November, people can show up who live in Philadelphia and get their voice heard and have Larry Krasner removed from office by voting for Judge Pat Dugan.
Yes. And again, Philly got to get out and vote. It was 16.61% of registered voters came out in May. That's disgraceful. We run around in the same circles. People bitch and complain about Larry Krasner, but everybody stays the hell home. You need to come out and vote. Stop bitching, stop complaining, and let's send him back to go lecture in San Francisco or something, but he should not be the chief law enforcement officer of Philadelphia. It's November 4th. You can get a mail-in ballot. It's real easy. You can just Google mail-in ballot Philadelphia. Fill it out online. It'll come to your house. You don't even have to get off your couch. But, folks, this is what we're getting if we continue to allow Larry Krasner's base to decide what our city should be. And it's a small percentage of the people that like what he does. The rest of us Get out and vote, folks. It's the only way we're going to turn this city around.
That's well said. I couldn't say it any better myself. So let's go back and talk about you and your personal relationship. You said your father left you, when you were younger. Good man, but should have been an uncle.
Yeah, he was.
I've never heard someone say, but I understand exactly what you're talking about. It's well said.
He's the guy sitting at the bar. We'll always buy the raffle ticket, throw a couple bucks up extra for the bartender, but forget he has kids, forget he's got a responsibility to help pay the bills, to send some bread home to his kids that he doesn't live with. But, so good guy to everybody else, to his family, not so good.
Right.
We certainly rectified when we were men. We can go back and look at his life. His father was actually killed in the line of duty, died in the line of duty as a firefighter in the 40s.
Wow.
So he was 7, loses his dad. I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but, who was his role model that showed him what he should be doing? But, yeah, so he was one of 8.
So if he wasn't your role model, who was?
My mother was my role model. My mom, Jackie Kane Dugan, single mother, 5 children, and worked 2 jobs, did all kinds of stuff to take care of us. But so I'm in Fairmount. It's the 1960s, sitting on the steps, 6 or 7 years old, and we had the police barricades all throughout the neighborhood because there was all kinds of tensions and, mini riots and whatnot going on. Girard College demonstrations were, recent and all this stuff. So all those yellow wooden barricades were close by on the corners. And there was a young African-American kid pedaling his bike as fast as he could as I'm sitting on the steps with my mother. And he passes us at 2211 Power Street, going as fast as he can, and he's being chased by a bunch of old heads from the neighborhood, and they catch this kid. And one of them picks up one of those big yellow boards and starts to beat him. My mother jumped off the steps, ran over, got in between those old heads, the board, and that young kid to protect him, pushed those old heads away, brought that kid to safety on our steps, brought his bike over, waited for the police to arrive, kept him safe. My mother didn't have to say a word. She showed me what you're supposed to do when somebody needs you. And I look at it as, why did I step off the bench to run against Larry Krasner after what I saw in my courtroom when Krasner took over and the efficiency and the unable to prosecute cases properly? I had to get off the bench like my mother got off the steps to stop the insanity going on. So I saw my mother put herself in jeopardy, and that's why I jumped out of airplanes, and that's why the hell I jumped off the bench to help our city.
I can see that. You've always been serving the public. So I'd like to thank you.
Well, and for those of us who've taken that oath over the years, I swear to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. There's no end date to this. There's no expiration date to it. And many of us who do that, we live that. And I call out Larry Krasner. He swore an oath to be the DA, and he hasn't lived up to it one day at all.
No, not at all. And there's a saying, you can look it up at home. It's called the man in the arena. And it's I really love that saying, that quote, and it's something that you should read, look up yourself. And it's very easy for people to throw stones and sticks and slurs when they're sitting off in the stands and they're watching a man by himself down there in the arena. It's another thing to have the balls and the gumption to get up and be that man by himself.
And I try to emulate my mother, who had the balls to get off the steps, and that's what I've been trying to do my entire life.
Oh, she sounds like a great woman, a hell of a role model.
Yeah. And you know what? She went back at 46. She wound up getting a degree in drug and alcohol counseling. She was a bartender. She wound up working for a place called Shalom, helping kids. She would go into the schools, do puppet shows, drug and alcohol counseling. So she really
much like
did
yourself
well.
In your 40s, going back to the military. Yes. So I can see where you got it. Yeah, that's cool. Is your mom still around? Or
no? Unfortunately, I lost my mom a few years back. And, I'm still mad at her for it because she was a lifelong smoker. And I understand that with 5 kids, she needed something to break the tension, but she smoked Pall Malls all the time. And unfortunately, she passed.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But, I'm blessed that when I became a judge, they give you this big coronation. They're putting a robe on you. The courtroom's full, TV cameras there, people getting up, saying all these great things about you. Well, I was able to take the mic. And my mom, she was going through chemotherapy, and she was sitting in a jury box. And I was able to tell my mother in front of the world how she was my hero. So I was able to tell her that while she was alive.
That's great.
I'm blessed that opportunity came, that I could tell the world what she meant to me and my family.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's well said. All right, so we're wrapping up here. You want to tell the audience, one more final message?
Get off the damn couch and vote, folks. I mean, the city, we've had 8 years of this failed policy, of George Soros-backed policy. Now, I plan on prosecuting people, but I've also been smart on crime. We could walk and chew gum. Good people having a bad day, people who need help, we could do that. But that jackass that's running around with a gun and carjacking you or shooting down the street indiscriminately while your teenage son is playing videos and gets shot in the back like that poor kid did in Frankfurt just this past week. This happens all the time. Those people doing that need to be punished. They should not be coddled. And that's what Larry Krasner's been doing. We need to wake up, stop coddling these violent criminals. And we got to stop Larry Krasner from staying the DA because he's destroying the fabric of Philadelphia. Get out and vote, folks.
All right, that's well said. People, you have to realize the district attorney directly affects the crime and the crime rate in the city that they're overseeing. Larry Krasner has been a failure. He's gotten over 75 people killed because of his failed policies, letting violent criminals out on the street. You cannot fix criminal justice reform on the backs of people. It cannot be an experiment like that. It has to be done the correct way. Get out November 4th. Vote for Judge Pat Dugan. Check out goodcopbadcoppodcast.com. Please share. We're on all the sites: Spotify, Apple, Rumble, YouTube. Share and like. Thank you. Love you guys. This episode, AR Law, PA State Rep Martina White, Biondo Creative, Morrow Flooring, and Pops McCann Whiskey.